I mean, it just goes to show anything you say, ever said, can and will be held against you in the court of public opinion.
And, and I think, I think we're starting to see somewhat of a tipping point on these conversations because, like my dad, and not to put word in his mouth or give him a pedestal when he's not here to speak or say anything, but, this kind of stuff, I guess someone could argue that it's privileged to say these kind of things, but my dad's answer to so much of this stuff is I just don't give a shit. I got bills that got to get paid. I've got work that needs to be done. I got people I got to see. And I think that there's a large conglomerate of people that are in that realm. And at some point, this hypersensitivity, this hyper wokeness, this hyper, I mean, we're talking about the fact that, Superman as a son is now coming out as gay.
Bisexual.
Okay. I read gay as the headline, but
which to me is kind of like, I don't think there is, but like, I kind of think if you are like same sex and opposite sex, you probably, I don't know. But yeah,
I think you're one or the other, and you can tolerate the other if you're bisexual. I think that's, and I say that having family that's kind of given me an explanation because I had the same questions. I mean, what is this? What do you feel that's different than what I feel, et cetera, et cetera? And it's like, well, I really prefer men, but I'm comfortable with women. That was the conversation. So it's not necessarily like I'm attracted to both. It's like, I'm just a sexual person. I prefer men, and like, go on and go. There's a soundbite for you guys.
Hey,
but anyhow,
the great thing about this country is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Live your best life.
Sure.
The problem becomes, and this is where, I have this constant conversation with my daughters who just turned 10, like, whether, because we have Netflix, dude, they somehow got into all these CW shows. I don't know how it happened.
Oh, I thought you were going to bring up the Dave Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle,
go on.
Pretty amazing. But like, there's like, we were watching, what was it, like Legends or Supergirl or something. And there's same sex, like the one girl's married to a girl. And I asked my daughters about it, and they were kind of like, well, I mean, don't you just kind of like who you like? I was like, yeah, I guess, I mean, like it just, I was like, sounds great. Just like who you like. Yeah. And they were like, some dogs like other dogs. Some dogs bark at other dogs. And I'm like, man, just like who you like. And it seemed pretty easy.
This is a delicate topic for men, because I would look at you two and say, man, you are empowering men. You're a, and not just men, but women too. But like men can look at you as individuals to emulate or to be like, or to follow, or to develop a similar mindset, like, because you're all about meritocracy. You're all about taking care of yourself, strengthening the body, strengthening the mind, whatever the weakness is, crushing it and eradicating it out. That's the same beautiful aspect of what can be done with masculinity. But I think in the same as the eat your own kind of trans situation that was going on right there, you'll see that in some of these men's groups or some of these women's empowerment groups, is like, if you're not extreme enough, then you're just not acceptable. Like, you're not a man if you're not out chopping a tree down every 2 hours, or you're not doing these kind of things. Like, the one problem that I see with so many men's groups that I think like separates yourself, and even the community at Sornex, we're not like putting out programming, but we are a community, a network of people that are showcasing that, like, hey, we're all out here living individual lives, doing individual things at a very high level. What I see with some of these organizations that tell you what you have to do to be a thing is that, like, for men in particular, I know that I'm very much like, if you give me a checklist of 100 pinpoints that make me a man, I'll probably check 77 of those boxes and go into a depression about the 23 that I can't fix. You know what I mean? It's like, so, by all standards,
who are these groups, Brandon? Brandon, like this is what fucking shocks me, that we have to have some group who decides is like the pontiff to fucking anoint who's a man and who isn't. Yeah. Like I fucking hate this. And more importantly, like podcasts, like how to be a man and this, I'm just like, shut the fuck up. Like, it feels disingenuous to me.
So much of it is like this destructive nature of like, well, I'm telling you what a man is, so you have to do these things, or I'm telling you what you need to do to be a good man. And maybe that person's not a good man, or maybe that person just smokes cigars for their photos, or has a full blown media team with them everywhere they go. Like, that's fine. And that's
or extensive
good.
beard oil collection.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But it's like, we're almost making a charade of ourselves at men. If we do that, we're making a mockery of ourselves and actually admitting to so many people like, hey, maybe we don't know who the fuck we are, but the post I made on my story was, I have never, ever once had my masculinity challenged. I've never, ever once had my manhood challenged. I've had who I am as a masculine person challenged. I've had who I am as a man challenged, but both of those situations are because of faulty behavior patterns.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was not because I wasn't this or that. Like I am a man, period. No argument, no discussion. How good of a man can you be?
Like, I mean, think about that. I mean, Seneca said it best where he said, don't argue about what a good man is, just be a good man. But like, I honestly wonder so many times, like, what's the definition? For me, it's real simple. Like, like take care of your kids, if you're married, be a good husband. Our number one rule of power athlete is, don't lie, don't steal, do what you say you're going to do, be accountable, be a good part of, be a good teammate. I sometimes wonder if a lot of these, this is the definition of a man is more about skill collecting. Whereas if, kind of like, you see memes all the time where you see like a manual transmission. And if you can't drive or if your boyfriend can't drive this manual, then you have a girlfriend. So a lot of times what I see these groups posting are really skill acquisition. Like, I can weld. Okay. Does that make me more of a man? I can do dirt work and run a, track loader and a backhoe and all that. Is that the definition? I can drive a manual transmission. I have a diesel truck. Like these are just skill acquisition pieces. But at the end of the day, like what's your definition? And more importantly, like what do you quantify? I mean, I for those of you guys that know Brandon, I mean, I've known Brandon G since I met him at Westside almost over a decade ago. And to see the metamorphosis of you, Brandon Lilly, from that 10, 12 years ago to where you are today is just like, I always thought that it's difficult for a leopard to change his spots unless he's reborn, and to see who you've really grown into in the last decade plus. But like, I sometimes wonder, how do we define it? More importantly, where do we put a stake in on this? And if you could say, like, what's that one thing that defines? Because you have a great collection of individuals around you with, Bert and Bosco Brotherhood and all these amazing individuals with, and our bros at Sornex. So I wonder, how do you define it?
I think for me, it starts biological. It does start with the way that you're in the perception, internal and out. I have several family members that are homosexual, and I can clearly tell you that on a spectrum, I knew that there was differences, let's say, in me and them when we were young. I could tell that they were very effeminate. I could tell that they were very into certain things that were not things that I was into. So I'm not saying that there can't be trans. I'm not saying that there isn't some spectrum on that scale as well. But what I'm saying for you, from the assumption, like if I have tattoos and a bald head and a big brooding look on my face, the assumption from the external is that I'm a bad guy or I'm a mean guy or whatever. I'm just sorry that if I see you and you have male characteristics and a penis between your legs, I'm going to assume you're a guy and I'm going to refer to you as such. So number one, I think, manhood is a state of biology first and foremost for me. Second of all, I think to the pillars of do what you say what you're going to do, mean it, don't lie, don't steal, be someone who others look up to as an example. Whatever that example is, be a pillar for that. I think skill acquisition is important. I was challenged very, very strongly when I said something about, if you're not strong, you're not a man, whatever. And I met a pianist and he made over $200,000 a year, lived in a beautiful home, had a ton of skill set kind of in what I would call like high culture. He was into wines. He was into music. He was into all these other things, and beautiful family, wife just dotes on and on about the kind of person he is and the kind of character he is. So at some point he helped me realize that it wasn't these things, but it was more so the aspiration to achieve something and then going and doing it. And like you said, I do think that there are aspects of, being able to take care of yourself, being able to take care of those you around you, being able to keep your house in order, being able to do good for your community. But I think at the very fundamental level, it revolves around those ideas. Biologically, you are what you appear to be. I'm open to conversation about what you feel that you are, but as what I see is what I'm going to refer to you as, unless I'm corrected. So then that would be first and foremost who you are, how you handle yourself, and more importantly, to mention the rebuild is to understand that as a man, you do have a very intense, very unique set of emotions, not to be emotional, but to try to understand that spectrum of emotion. And don't deny yourself anything. Listen to that inner voice, listen to those feelings. And that kind of sounds hippy dippy, but that was after my injury. And I think what happened to me, much of what I was going to say about identity, it's an odd time in my life where we're seeing people identify like so strongly about their gender. Like that's who they are as a person. That's who they're fighting for on the internet or who they're fighting for in their causes. And I almost kind of made light of that. But then I was like, well, when I was powerlifting, I was Brandon Lilly, the powerlifter.